Okay, thank you. I think I thought of starting because I'm not an unknown face for all of y'all. And first and foremost, thank you so much for joining within a very short period of notice. And I'm trying my level best to make it more interactive and interesting. So there are a couple of rules, as we all know. Please, I know it's a Sunday evening, everyone is in your casuals, but if you all are okay, please keep your camera on. And if you wanted to raise a question, I want you all to just unmute your mic, still that make sure that your mics are muted to avoid background noises. But please feel free to raise your hand or initiate the questions. The reason is why this is a more interactive session. We all are members, so this has to be more productive. It has to be more, there should be something that you will be taking home back, or what you say is now nothing is taking home, you're keeping in your mind virtually. So the reason is why I want this to be more interactive. Please raise questions. If not, the session going to be more contextual to the points that I have drawn, I have structured. So it has to be more interactive, so where you can curate the knowledge out from me. So that's the reason this has to be interactive. And we all are team members, so you please make it informal and raise questions. Let's make it more interactive. So that is one part. And the most important thing, on behalf of Chamil, I wanted to highlight that this is online sessions carries a certification which you can download, the CPD certification, because this has a validity also. It's not just the knowledge you're acquiring, it comes with a supportive which can be used and exchanging for your future as well, because it comes with a value proposition. So that is something I wanted to highlight on behalf of the committee. And apart from that, there are a couple of things I wanted to highlight. This is going to be one more, this is not going to be a one more session. This is a starting point for our future sessions. So where we are intended to start a community of knowledge sharing, which I want, because actually this came as a suggestion from our committee as well as the chairman. So president, sorry, where this knowledge needs to be shared, which you all can share with us, and you all also needs to come up with new topics and share among us. So it's a knowledge sharing session. There are so many new things that you all are aware of. Apart from that, this is a learning curve. As we all know, we are living in one of the boxes. Sometimes we are reluctant to go out and conduct presentation. We have a huge knowledge box, but we don't want to open it out. But identify this forum as a forum to open our knowledge and share with us. So if you all have any unique topics related to AI or any other topic, so share with us so we can start sessions, planned session every month basis. So this is something starting. I hope there is no question. Let's start. So today's topic is mainly, before starting, I wanted to highlight one thing: who I am, people who doesn't know me. And am I really, how could say, am I really appropriate person to conduct this session? I'll give a little bit of a background about myself. I started my career as a banker, techno banker, and then worked in the banking industry in Sri Lanka, worked as a CIO in a leading bank in Sri Lanka, as well as a digital transformation head. Then moved to vendor side, which I started my career with the vendors with Polaris. Then I moved to actually with the demerger, I sticked into the product company Intellect, which is mainly handling banking as well as financial and fintech companies across fintech solution across the world mainly for banking sector and the central bank sector and the insurance company sector. So I covered earlier role, I was covering Asia Pacific as well as Sri Lanka for solution architecture as well as pre-sales head. Now I have moved into APAC and Middle East to handle the, basically I worked as a senior vice president handling Middle East and Africa markets for solution architect, as a solution architect, as well as heading the pre-sales. Plus recently I took over, a couple of months ago, I took over head of pre-sales and the digital transformation, global head of pre-sales and for digital transformation, which is part of AI. Plus I'm reading from my PhD in AI. So I come with a more practical experience supporting fintech and mentoring fintech companies for digital transformation as well. So that is a little bit about me. So let's move on. What is today's world? How to compete in the world of AI? So the key takeaways on today's discussion, how machine intelligence going to change the rule of the business. I'm not going to talk about technology because you all knows what is the Python, how Python works, what are the algos and how the algos works. So this is not going to be pure technical discussion. This is going to be how our life going to change in the digital era, how we should be equipped to address the digital era requirements. It's about our career, our professional life. How are we going to convert ourselves, transform ourselves for the future? And then the most important thing is what an organization can do and cannot do in the AI space. And how the AI drives companies can basically outperform the traditional firms, as well as how this is going to, as I mentioned earlier, train you for your cultural move. It is not only professional life, retool, not that you're only retooling your professional life, you're basically transforming or moving your cultural life as well. How to adjust that? Then what is the element of data science as the impact of AI? And then the core talent for communicating data. That is the other part of it. So let's start. I'll first want to start with more exciting point with the exciting point of how the machine intelligence changes the business. So the encouraging people to reduce their carbon printout. So I thought of starting with one particular point, that is, I'll pick a case study. This is a very important case study, but I'm going to raise some questions also here. So be prepared and keep your mics open. First thing, I hope you all have heard about A&T Financial Services. Are you all familiar with A&T Financial Services? I know when you read the slide, you will automatically tell.
No, we are not aware. You can. Okay.
A&T is the actually new avatar of Alibaba. Alibaba Pay or Alipay, new avatar of Alipay is the A&T Financial Services, which disrupted the fintech, or rather we call this as a big tech discovery, which is actually formed in 2014 in China from a consolidating 71 sister brands and 975 competing brands together, and made this A&T Financial Services. This is part of the brand of Alibaba Group, which is today totally doing the digital self-service platform. and listed in all the share markets and leading in the stock exchange of New York. And valuation of more than 150 billion, the most valuable finance service company compared to JP Morgan Chase. If as a bank, even it's leading banks as well. So this is where who is A&T Financial Services is. Why I pick A&T Financial Services is mainly this is A&T Financial, the one who brought the disruption of AI into the market. They disrupt the entire ecosystem of finance industry, e-commerce industry, marketing industry, health industry in the world. And it brought different user experience, which got them with more than like areas like Alipay runs into various lines of business: consumer lending, money market funds, wealth management, health insurance, credit rating, consumer lending. It has spread across major component, except for travel industry. They have got into the travel industry, ticketing industry. Other than that, they have not physically got into the physical movements of the airlines and so on, but they are strongly into this. Do you have any idea of Alipay transactional pattern, and across the world, do you know how many users use Alipay today? Any questions?
We know that major e-commerce sites has a payment method with Alipay as a thing, and nothing much on the volume of transactions by Alipay.
Okay, so if you say the A&T Financial Services, it is because Alipay today has merged and created this A&T Financial Services. They are into different industries. So they are not only doing e-commerce transactions. That is something that everyone, we immediately when it comes to Alipay, we say, oh, they're only doing payments, e-commerce. No, they're not only doing payments. They basically brings onto the table all types of service industries as well as the product industries into a one platform, integrated with their products and services. They provide loans, credit, with the online real-time credit evaluation. That credit evaluation is nothing to do with the way the banking is doing the credit evaluation. It is predominantly based on what is your lifestyle. They analyze your full lifestyle. Based on your lifestyle only, they do total analytics. And based on that, they give you loans. Now, this is the difference.
Are you saying, Dimple, that individual's worth is analyzed by them?
Yes, individual data is analyzed by them. I'll go down and I'll explain how it happens. So, how they do, I'll explain. I'll have a couple of case study, how they case study going little deeper here. So how they analyze about you, and based on you, your behavioral model, they come up with the credit rating. They give you a credit rating. Based on your credit rating, where you will be granted facilities as well as other services. Now, I'll go one step down, and before going in, I wanted to highlight a couple of things. There are hyper growth strategies, mainly using AI and basically coming up with microservice-based architecture and the Kubernetes-based cloud-native deployment. Totally Kubernetes-based deployment, which they reduce the cost. So they look at behavioral models, cost reduction methods with the core being their AI platform. So this is where their structure is. Not only A&T Financials, there are several leading like Amazon, Google, like Indigo, and traditional companies like Walmart, Fidelity, and also have moved into this space today, using the AI. I'll answer Arun's question, how they are doing it. So I have a certain pattern of buying products. And I buy products on online real-time basis. So one thing, the first level is I don't buy on a credit line basis. I buy 10 dirhams, 12 dirhams, 13 dirhams, 14 dirhams base products. Plus I have a health insurance facility. The minute you have a health insurance facility, which they curate a lot of information about me to the system. Now the system has about me through the insurance data. Plus, with that, I use the same platform to do fund management and trading by the same group of companies, because they have around 71 group of companies. So every group of companies I have activities, they curate data into a single layer. So they identify me with my unique patterns. So based on that, these are the basically structured data structure which they are bringing. As and when I matured with my data, they build a rating mechanism for me. One is based on my EKYC, demographical data, behavioral analysis model, plus my transactional behavioral analysis model. Based on these two factors, they grant a facility to me. Now, the advantage for them is they bring all the ecosystems together, internal as well as external ecosystem-based data. So that's how they have built their own ecosystem for credit line evaluation. Did I answer your question, Arun? Hello?
Yes, this explains.
And I want others also to make it more interactive, because I don't know whether I'm really making you all bored.
Hi, Dimple. This is Lafir.
Hi, Lafir.
I also come from a banking background. Basically, I worked in credit risk as well for quite some time. So I just would like to know, what is it different from behavioral models which were there in traditional banking systems to the AI systems today? Like, I recall when I used to work 10 years ago, we had application scorecard rating for credit lending for retail bankers or retail customers. And we also had a behavioral model which ran on SAS, which is a system. So how is it different to that?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now here, what we do is we have very static way of doing. We take rules and we structure the rules together, and those are credit evaluation rules. And then depends on the credit rating system or Etihad Credit Bureau in UAE, in any other country, the credit evaluation ratings which you get. Now it's a rating which comes based on my payment patterns to my credit cards, loan payments, my income and expense patterns. Actually, it's a lending and borrowing patterns only will be structured over there. And based on the basic rules, it will going to be structured. Based on that, I get a credit rating. Sometimes if I delay paying my utility bill payments due to some personal reason or due to negligence, still my rating goes down. That is in today's world. 10 years ago, actually, it was created on a rule base. Now, today is on the, if you look at A&T Finance or Amazon, what they are doing is they study your behavioral pattern. How they create different behavioral styles, models. We create models. Based on those models, the rating is done, not purely based on your Etihad Credit Bureau credit analysis. Now, sometimes my credit rating might be good, but my pattern, my expenditure pattern is not acceptable. My basically disposal income is very, very high than my income, because we have one sort of income only, which we get from the salary. But there are cash outflows are not getting analyzed properly. There are my insurance premiums, insurance patterns, number of vehicles I have, and my fund life. None of those things are properly analyzed. Those are analyzed manually by the manual credit officer. Plus, there are a lot of manual credit officers getting involved in today's process, even today's banking system. But if you look at Alipay or Amazon, there is no manual intervention at all. The reason is they structured the modeling and give micro credits. These are micro credits. Instant credit based on your behavioral model. Now, those days we did not have proper behavioral analytics. We never had a structure. The SAS had a model, but it was never analyzing the customer credit card utilization pattern. I know it's a small forum, I can say. There is a saying, even banks knows, even the things that the husband or wife doesn't know about each other. Because everything they have information. So that is a risk part. I will highlight the risk part of that as well. But that particular angle is not predominantly analyzed by basic rule-based or dynamic or basic dynamic rule-based credit scoring system. Even debt burden ratio calculation is done basically based on my payout pattern. We do not, when I take a loan for refinancing, I do debt burden ratio calculation. But it is predominantly based on the data which we have, not based on the external data or my credit card behavior or my third-party credit card behavior analysis does not come. The reason that A&T has is they have consumer cycle linked to the system. So they analyze the consumer or my lifestyle pattern behavioral analysis. With that, they curate data. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Dimple, thank you so much. I think I got a fair idea into it. Although I also feel that traditionally the concept was already there. I think they are going a step ahead today in leveraging the technology.
Yes,
correct?
Traditionally it is there, but the point is there is a lot of manual intervention is there. So they're taking those manual intervention out. So for this, what they are all these organizations, if you look at this organization, Amazon, Alipay, and so, they have a common pattern. And today, even
it's
JP Morgan and so on, they also have transforming themselves. The reason is they're bringing in built-in digital core. The built-in digital core is the key factor which transforms everything. The second one is limited human intervention, because in their model, the less human, more software engineers. They're transforming their pattern. Even today, if you look at Uber, when they recruited their CEO, they didn't go and recruited a CEO from a traditional, like a car, rent a car or a company. They recruited a CEO from a digital transformation who had worked in a digital background, or rather comes on an IT background base. So understand our opportunities are opening out in the market. Our industry is widening, so our opportunities are opening. The minute they moved on to the digital core, the leadership thought process also needs to be changed. So all these companies, the thought process, what has driven them. So they're opening the doors for the digital. Then fully digitalized processes. Workflow is digitalized. Everything is digitalized. Even today, if you look at even Middle East as a market, we are fully getting into fully digitalized. Everywhere you totally do eKYC, customer onboarding. Today, the credit evaluation is online real time for microcredits. So that they're trying to remove the manual intervention and create more job space for software engineers.
How do they capture the data source? Like, let's say I'm going and making few credit card transactions. How my data is fed into these AI systems?
Okay, so I'll take now when you do couple of credit card transactions, I'll take simple in today's world. I will not touch upon the Alibaba, but I'll take Amazon. Amazon has, because countries like UK, USA has started open banking mechanism. Rather than credit evaluation, open banking is open. So I give approval for my other banks to access my statements. So when I have my primary bank with the open banking mechanism, I give a data access, which we call today's world as personal finance assistant management and so on. So with that, they can curate data from different providers. So that data comes and stand on with me. That is one part of it, how the data comes in. Second is, forget about third party. Only look at Amazon or only look at a simple bank based in UAE. Who has got your total, you have a credit card, which you have been using for last 3 years. Now, all that credit card has your transaction pattern and your debit card transaction pattern, where they get the merchant IDs. So merchant IDs are categorized. So when you categorize merchant IDs, you categorize what are the companies, and for an example, I take Zara, M&S, Lulu, and so on. So that is categorization comes in. So based on that categorization, it automatically creates your spend pattern analysis. There's a model we structured for spend pattern analysis. Now, when the data is curated, this spend pattern algos will identify what are the patterns of data that you are basically doing your transaction. Forget about that. The same way you can do it today, how the Netflix is doing streaming. This is also somewhat streaming. So they know, I started watching cricket and, science fiction, fictions and so on. So it identifies your patterns. Based on your identification of your pattern, they curate that and create a model under you. So there is a similar patterns, people are under that model. So there is a deviation happens, then comes a hyper-personalization. So it is all manually, you cannot do that. Manually, I need 5-10 people in the credit system, credit officers, to understand the customer. So here you don't need that. You curate and you identify your pattern. Apart from that, you have cash inflow and outflow pattern, your spend and cash inflow. Your inflow comes into your spend pattern, then you are they identify, like you take cash top-ups. You have settlement cycles, different loans you take from the cards. So that is different patterns being categorized. So based on that, you identify the system identify your behavior. One is with the countries which has open banking, has easily curate from other credit card systems and so on. If not, from here. But even Amazon and ANT, they identify your purchase patterns from your system only, from their system only, with their supportive companies. Did I answer your question, Aru?
Yes, Dimple.
But I want others also to make it, because I don't know whether we are going on the correct path or it's make it little. As this is what I mentioned, open ecosystem. Today's world is moving to open banking, and everything is centralized. Today, even you forget about the retail side, even you discuss about the SME side. For an SME merchant, when you're onboarded, for an example, if you take Dubai Authority, no block, you are registered, all your information are with them. So when you go and onboard yourself in any of the banks, you can do digital onboarding. They automatically connect with Noblock, extract your data from Noblock for company registration, power of attorney, MOA, memorandum of articles. All the data get curated to the central system. I think Chamil can add more into that because he's part of the Chamber of Commerce. So all this comes in. So with that, immediately customer get on board. And then based on that, you get there's balance statements and so on. So balance statement and everything, when Neoblock send, they also do analytics. They have an AI engine. They do analytics of the merchant patterns. So that comes to the bank. Banks do a better credit evaluation of the customer with this information. Now that is the core. Core is not traditional credit evaluation anymore. So that is, I just wanted to highlight this open ecosystem. This AI cannot survive. One is you need data. Second is you need to have an open ecosystem like open banking and integrated system with other platforms.
Dimple, when you say open ecosystem, how does it reach to the data privacy on individual? Because you are sharing the data without your consent, right?
Yes, I'll come.
How does it will play a role in here? Can we do this one legally in UAE?
Yes. Now, when it comes to that is where when you're doing a credit, like you apply for a facility or when you're doing a customer onboarding, they take your consent saying that can we take your credit rating from the Credit Etihad Bureau. So you give your consent. So the second thing is when you're doing customer onboarding today, we read the NFC because basically today customer onboarding is done. It's very seamless. You basically, they scan your Emirates ID and read the NFC card. When you're reading, we take the customer consent, whether to read the NFC and validate with Etihad Credit, Emirates ID Bureau. Then based on the consent only, the scent and data is extracted. That is one part. Now I'll come to the open banking. Middle East, Saudi and UAE is moving into open banking. Now open banking also you have to give your consent to extract data from the other entities. If not, we cannot extract data. So that data privacy part is being addressed by getting the consent from the customer. Now you will ask, does that is available in Amazon or AMT Finance or Facebook or Walmart? Actually, no. You're not giving consent when you're buying goods from Amazon. You can use this data for anything. But only thing they're smartly taking one point in your consent. Alerts and notification. Can we pass alerts and notification or promotions to you on need basis? Please, if it's okay to accept it. So they are legally covered through that, they're giving the consent. So, yeah, and we never give consent to Alibaba or Amazon or any of the e-commerce platform to use my data to provide me a facility. But these data they're using to identify my behavioral model and then provide me facilities. But the minute I apply for a facility in a bank, I'm giving my consent. So the bank can use the data. And at any given time, we are not saying banks, and banks have the data with you, better with them. But they are not going and checking, okay, that's why they're saying behavioral model mapping. they're not doing personal model mapping. For an example, Dimple, I'm open for them, I don't go for clubbing and all, but I just want to highlight. If you say, Dimple, I've been going for a pubs and transacting with pubs. They're using this data to analyze my behavior, but not to track any of my patterns. So bank cannot give this data out. And when the data, I'll come to the security part. I have a core model structuring. I'll go there and explain. So when you get the data, you mask the data. When you do data modeling, and when you're doing total data modeling, data privacy is important. So I cannot, the customer name is only comes with a hashed or closed account number. So as a data modeling person, when I'm taking sample data for testing my algorithms, I will not be given actual data or a customer information at any given time. That is something, that is why today's world, there is a person called Digital Data Privacy Officer. This is a new role which is coming up in the market for all the companies which is moving on to digital transformation. So that he is the one who is totally evaluating those models. So this is a new role in the market. Any other questions? If not, I'll just move to the next, because I wanted to make it very simple and quickly finish. So this is actually, we discussed this in detail, so I don't want to go on earlier with the questions. We covered this, because the digital core, which we call so-called digital core, is as per the KPMG and other reports. These are the sources. And I forgot to highlight the previous source of A&T Finance. It's coming from Harvard Business Case Study, which was published in 2014 and 2019 and the 2021. Combination of all three. The first case study was built. And if you all want, just let me know. So I will share the content of that. You can do more reading on that. So when it comes to digital core patterns, these are the questions which everyone raised. That personal based experience and lifestyle, which is mainly today, everyone banking industry is looking at how to address, give a contextual experience to your customer. To give the contextual experience, you need to know the customer well. So you need to understand the behavioral pattern. That is one part of AI. The other one is assisted digital services, customer onboardings, self-services. Today all have been digitalized. Scan, read, liveness check, validate you, do the eKYC, online real-time data validation, move on. And basically, other one is artificial intelligence part is the key, but this is end of the day, the entire ecosystem is built on artificial intelligence. Then comes the architecture, patterns, and the ecosystem, how I can easily integrate with the external system, microservice-based API and the integration. And the most important today is the deployment. It has to be on a cloud native architecture. And the most important part, apart from that, is DevOps comes in. I will go in on to that. It has to be agile. Everything, the core model has to be agile. So agility is the one important part that our old method of waterfall implementation method needs to move on. And everyone in the team should know the exact user story, including the project manager. So that is something I just want, which I have already covered. I will come back to this because there were a lot of questions regarding AI factory. What is this AI factory? today's world, this question actually I was planning to cover now, but there were questions raised by Arun and so on. So in today's world, we talk about two types of AI. One is a strong AI, the other one is a weak AI. A strong AI is all about human, basically science fiction, what you see in science fiction, how to simulating and human reasoning and so on. So that is not the AI today's world is looking in our space. Yes, it's good, like that one part of it, but the actual part of the AI's today's world, everyone looks at. Can you see the screen? So
yeah, we can see.
Yes, we can.
okay. So the other part is the weak AI. Actual today's world needs weak AI. Simple system to handle the task traditionally handled by the people. Not the simulating human reasoning, what we see in the science fiction. It's always nice science fiction part of it, but the weak AI. That is where I mentioned, I think Lafi raised this question. 10 years ago, when he's working in the bank, he used to have credit scoring system, which was done on rule-based. Data comes, map with the rules and process the application. But the data behavioral modeling is the advanced method of doing using the AI. And then very simple things, automation of processors. Using the traditional way of your doing your day-to-day, like food delivery, automating your food delivery. I know the hotel industry, Punni, when he started, he mentioned about the hotel industry. Hotel industry services can be automated today. And booking can be automated, even every service can be automated, except for food and the cleaning and so on. That's also can be, because today, if you go to Walmart use Amazon cleaning process, fully automated cleaning process for most of their branches. So we provide credit card system for Walmart, so which we have experienced how they have done this system. So that means that the automating of the operational process. It is not only the banking or service industry you can automate, even the factories. If you look at today, most of the factories are moving on to the automation to reduce the human intervention. So for that, you cannot just do the automation. I'll come, what are the 4 components are essential for every AI factory? And the other one is using external data, internal data, comes with a prediction, insight, and then goes on a pattern. So one part is the weak AI, is clearly goes on to process automation, workflow automation, using data and analytics. Now, there are 4 components which is very essential for every factory. One is data pipeline. Now, this is where I think, Arun, you raised the question from where I'm getting data. The minute you don't structure your data, there you fail in AI. You can get data. If one thing, you need to have a lot of data with you. Second thing is, when you get the data, you might fail at the beginning because you come with certain set of prediction, which might be wrong. The insight might be wrong with the number of data you have curated.
Yes.
So that limited data is not enough. So you need to have 3 years, 4 years old data, or 5 years, sometimes 10 years, because credit risk analysis. So today we do RAROC calculation and the debt burden ratio calculation with Excel sheets. It is basically taking certain data, analyze. But we don't do predictions. To do the predictions, at least 5 years pattern, 10 years patterns are needed. So you need to invest on data. So when Alibaba started, they failed in 2004. They started picking up, they only did well in their ecosystem, but though they could not be the strong AI factory. The minute they started having more data, their services improved. So the data pipeline is very important. Any question on that? Everyone is quite quiet. I might have put everyone on to sleep.
No, this is interesting. When we have time, I would like to explain a use case we have used in Emirates airline in the booking process when we have time later after.
Definitely, I will definitely keep some time for that because this has to be more interactive.
Yeah.
So, and the other one is algos. Then comes the experimentation algorithms. So you cannot, because there should be a research needs to happen. Because the minute you stop building algorithms, or what we do is we take a sample or a publish algos, and then people research on them further. The minute you stop researching on that, then that becomes obsolete. So that AI factory will never function. So there should be, the minute you invest on an AI-based core or a digitalized core, the minute you need to invest on a research unit for algorithms. This is where sometimes most of the organization fails. I recruit 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 AI people, or who knows Python and so on, and then start building, where it goes flat. You cannot go on like that, because there should be a proper research and development unit, data unit and research and development unit. So with these two coming in, then the other most important thing is you need to have an experimentation platform. Because the minute you don't have an experimentation platform, you fail on there. So the other most important part is you need to invest on an experimentation platform or pilot branch, pilot structures. The minute you don't have that, then the AI factory fails. Then comes the infrastructure and ecosystem. It's not that even all these fintech companies comes and say, we have built a credit evaluation pattern. So the first question you need to ask, how much you are investing on your research and development. It could be 2 people, 3 people. That's immaterial, but that needs to be invested. How you are testing this? Am I going to be your test bed? If so, I need to structure. There's an organization needs to structure their testing environment to align to the experimental platform. So there is a risk. The minute I open out to the external world, the models which the recommendation you arriving through the models you have built, then you're going to fall flat. So these 4 components are very, very important for an AI factory.
Yeah, Dimple, now these the 4 components, data, pipeline, and these algorithms. So it's not necessary to be used in the credit evaluation. So if I have a service organization, so I want to do an AI model, so that I can use my own algorithms to understand the customer patterns in any of the industries, service industries.
Yes, you can. I just took an example as a credit because it was discussed. Algorithms can be used for any industry. Now, for an example, service industry, I'll take a service travel industry to identify customers' traveling pattern. Now, you can take this traveler. If you take, they identify your traveler's pattern, traveling patterns. I think I wanted to give this chance to Arun because he comes with a good experience on Emirates. So I have experience from Emirates. when I travel, they know exactly how, I don't know how they know, but they exactly know my travel on my personal and travel on my official. So they nicely start putting me on a package. So
for enterprise level organization like Emirates, so you have plenty of data that you do, you can come out of results, So, but middle level organizations who are intended to go in this digitalization process. So to start with that they can build up these experimental platforms, based on the algorithm. So as they move on, they can gain the
exactly.
Exactly.
Because all you need is, you need to just invest a small amount on experimentation, or you don't need to invest. At least you have to take a sample, implement first, test it before you going into the mask.
Correct. They have the huge amount of data with them, but it is not in a structured way. So you have to get that structured form, and then you build the algorithm.
Exactly. And plus you need to focus on how you're going to the data pipeline. So for an example, you might have certain set of data. You have 50% of data with you.
Correct.
Then tomorrow, you based on that, you identify a certain pattern. And you identify certain behavioral pattern based on that using certain algorithms that you have, market available algorithms also you can apply. So that you have created a model. Now the model has to do little everyday learning needs to come. Now you need to pump data for that. One thing, your existing environment data which you're pumping, plus you need to curate data from external systems as well. So those are the areas that you need to be very cautious about.
Yes.
That's why, because today's world, there are lots of fintech companies, and in Sri Lanka, there are a lot of Sri Lankans who is doing good AI factory modeling. And so only concern is when they come on board, when we get them on board, always we need to spend some time to understand that how they are doing this, the experimentals, and how they are getting the data. Or we will give the data in a very secured way for them to use and build the pattern and give it to you. So these are the areas that we need to spend more time on. And other thing is the infrastructure and the ecosystem. When you say infrastructure in the data space or an AI factory space, most important is the cyber security and the data privacy. The miss this, then you are in a mess. And the testing, the automated testing, DevOps, or are the other areas that you need to focus on. Arun, I would like to take a small break and give you a chance to share your experience on Emirates.
Thank you.
I moved into scaling part.
Yeah. Thank you, Dimple. Thank you. Somebody already asked that question in the travel industry, how we are using AI. So 2-3 years back, we had a program called NEO launched in Emirates. And the idea was to launch a new booking engine for Emirates, that is Emirates.com, where it will, when the customer lands on Emirates.com and lands on a booking page, it will have some data about the customer's behavior. So they did a POC. I was part of the demo and asking questions and all, not really directly involved, but they have consumed some services from third party, where, for example, the demo was given like a booking request is coming from a Singaporean. So they have analyzed the data, and this service was given us like a Singapore origin person when he comes to UAE or Dubai. What has been their average activities, sports, nightclubs, or whether restaurants and all. So this type of data is also given by a third-party service to us, where we could form a package deal for him with some restaurants or desert safari, leisure activities, sports activities, and entertainments related. A package was formed. So in addition to selling the ticket, we want to upsell with some additional things of sports and things, and we used AI for that. That demo was a live demo with the real data, and it was very successful. But then Emirates unfortunately had to shut down that program for some financial reasons and things. But we had the taste of it. What you were telling today, I know that we had the taste of it, but it was too early to implement everything. But I hope that we will restart the program again and go in this route, because this is way more like our business is not just now depends on selling tickets. We have to upsell with several other things: a hotel, a leisure activity, a restaurant. All these have to be combined. And if we sell our tickets along with these packages only, we will make some profit. Otherwise, we are not there. So we had been thinking about this for a long time. We did some POC, and unfortunately, the program got stopped. I just, when you explain this data gathering, so based on their credit card spending behavior, we were able to get an average Singaporean coming to Dubai, what is he spends most on? Is it on restaurants, nightclubs, sports, leisure? And then this data is given, and when a customer comes on board, we pop up those things and then allow him to customize his own package, and we prompt him. And this data was very useful, and I'm sure that the financial sector has been gathering this data and selling it for a very high price for organization like Emirates. So this is the future goal.
Yes. So because that's why it is a future goal, as you correctly said, because this is, I want to pick one because I'm actually trying to cover that part now, so I can easily correlate to that. The point is, yes, sometimes at the beginning, nobody spend more attention towards AI part of it because people think it's too costly. So when it's costly, people think, oh my God, it's too, we should not. Maybe at the beginning, it's kind of, we find it's a less, more expensive, and it's not like a traditional company, traditional way you start, boom, it start hitting and start you getting more income and revenue. But you need to understand the traditional organization increase. When they started, their revenue is high, but it comes and stagnate at one point. But the AI-based or digitalized companies, when they start, yes, it will not pick up very fast. But down the line, they pick up fast. So nobody expected today's world will get crunched with COVID. So the organization which invested on digital cores are basically earning better revenue than the traditional organization. So this is where actually the AI factory really makes a difference. Basically, that's what, now I just want to highlight a couple of points. I think I'm running short of time. Removing the limits to scale the scope and the learning. The mainly emerging new kind of firms, one thing, it takes the traditional firms, unless the traditional firms need to jump into AI-based or an AI-based course structure or digitalized course structure. If not, their sustainability is going to stop. As Arun clearly mentioned, today, if you only start selling the tickets and the airlines, it will come to a halt. Because everything, people also have started working remotely. Now the work travel has stopped. It's only going to be leisure travels going forward. So the revenue is going to drop. People think that today you don't need to be physically present. You close deals, you do a lot of things without physical presence. So the travel is going to drop. The best is you need to plan something around that, so that you need to build an ecosystem which improvise everything. Then the other, most of the things the AI-driven and the traditional firm survival, the scalability. If you really look at AI-driven processors has much more rapidly you can scale up. But whereas traditional organization to change a workflow, process flow takes time. I know that has a ripple effect as well, because one thing is the employment. The second thing is that the employment part is the culture needs to retool, or we need to start looking in a different way. We need to focus on more digitalized world than traditional. So we never expected today, 2 years, 3 years ago, we were very comfortable with going to the Carrefour, going around Carrefour and buying goods. I think today, hardly anyone likes to go out and buy goods. They find it's more expensive, more cheaper to book online products. So that the world is transforming. It's going to be digitized, so the value of the digital core comes in place. So in other words, this is IT forum, so I can tell there's more job opportunities are opening towards us. So we need to be geared up to handle that. And not only that, it reshaped the nature of the competitive advantage. So when the Alibaba is there, when the fully digitalized environment, when there is a Uber, when there is a Talabat and all, the traditional dine out culture is dying. So the ghost restaurants are coming now. So we need to find a way of reshaping and phasing that, going beyond that traditional culture. So that is where the most important part of the shaping up needs to come in. You cannot stick to that traditional way of doing things. Even today, after some time, if you look at Sri Lanka, was doing well in garment industry. But we have a very traditional way of doing the garment industry. Even our packaging, even our sewing patterns and everything, very traditional. So we need to get out from that traditional way, and we need to inbuild the digitalized code to speed up speed up our rapid and scale it out. Rapidly speed and the scaling. Plus, we need to bring down the cost. So to bring down this cost, certain processes need to be automated. Even certain factories in Sri Lanka does not use in a simple supply chain finance cycles. So these are the areas that even as a country, Sri Lanka can improve and which can lead into the space, in the digitalized space. Even our garment industry is moving very slow in the digital industry. So this is where the culture needs to come up. If not, today, though we thought Bangladesh is laid back, they are much more improvised than us. They are automating their processes. They're digitalizing their processor. It's not just automating processor, they're bringing AI in to fully modernize the processor. So this is where we need to rethink how to address the collision between the AI-driven and the traditional firms. And as you all know, these AI-driven companies create a value. As Arun mentioned, I buy a ticket, I get 5 other things. So that value creation impress people, create stickiness, it creates engagement, like gamification and all those things comes in place. It's not just, today you go to a lifestyle bank, you can do digital onboarding, you get lending, you get gamification, everything. And you go to Amazon Bank, you get everything. You do shopping, you do banking, you get consumer durables lending, everything. My life is covered. So why should I go to a traditional bank? Why should I go to a traditional shop to buy goods when I get everything to my doorstep? So everything is lifestyle also reshaping due to digital. So everything needs to be aligned for that. So I'm just speeding myself to, and this is the last. the AI at the firm's core. But before that, I have covered this. It always has to be one strategy, clear architecture, right capabilities, and the agile product focus. I covered this, multidisciplinary governance. The integrated legal and corporate laws needs to be in place. Like data privacy, there are a lot of digital assets are getting covered over here, digital privacy, algorithm bias, and then the cybersecurity. So before concluding, I just want a couple of things, but I would like to open the forum. Let's have a few questions and then I need to touch upon what are the leadership challenges and the talents that we need to persuade or look at if we are going to be focused on the digital space. I'm keeping the forum open for everyone. We have 20 participants. I would like to hear from others.
I like to keep quiet. Let others ask questions.
Okay. I'll just stop sharing. So
yeah.
Yeah, we will share our videos and then people will.
So everyone can open their videos. So
yeah, guys,
Yeah,
can
hi,
we have
Dimple.
your
We
cameras
have one more
open?
question.
Yeah. Yes.
If you don't mind, see, it was very interesting and giving thought and perspective into future options as well. But my question is, see, we understand that banks today are not here to, I mean, they're here to stay for long, but they are, of course, collaborating a lot with fintech companies.
Yes.
And we are talking to a couple of fintech companies as well. So since you touched upon AI from a different industry perspective, I think from a banking context, it's going to take a little while. Because why I think that way is that because traditionally the banking has inherent, let's say, capabilities that fintechs don't have today, such as, dealing with customers on a face-to-face basis and all this. Apart from this, on this point you mentioned that already Shamil raised on data privacy and protection. What I see is that, there's a give and take, a trade-off between how much data is a customer willing to give to banks, and banks, obviously, we working in risk and fraud areas and all, we wouldn't want to divulge any information of customer, even though a customer consent is given, because customer consent is given through to share data. But what I have seen is that it has to be handled very carefully and cautiously today, even when it comes to credit card information. Like we are dealing with one credit card vendor who is dealing with another, let's say, third-party provider who is getting data from various banks across the globe. Yes. And what they do is they collect the data and they build their AI models. Yes. And based on the AI model, it throws out a certain behavioral pattern. Like I go for a credit card, it'll look at my rating, it'll go into that system, integrate through APIs, see, and it'll throw a certain value. But the problem I see here is that how much data has every bank shared or everybody shared? So if you look at a pattern of a certain person, for instance, just here where I'm coming from, supposing you look at my credit history in Dubai, I may be a very good customer here. I go to Etihad Credit Bureau and everything and this thing. But in Sri Lanka, I'm a defaulter. But to the extent that I'm a defaulter and I'm of the waiting list or wanted list is not seen through AI systems yet. But if supposing I've already gone into blacklist and through AML systems, it throws that so-and-so Lafir is a blacklisted customer. Traditionally, when I do the check at the back end, I get caught. But if you go to AI system in the new ways of working, I won't get caught. The reason is that to that extent, the market has not gone forward.
Yes.
So this is my view about, how I've seen AI.
Yeah. But I take your point, Lafir. But today, if we look at, it's maturing because it's just started to mature. Like if you look at, for collection, we are using those data. For collection, we curate data from they tie up with different collection companies in Philippines, Sri Lanka, and so on, before you're granting a facility. There are aggregating companies today coming up. Those are collection aggregators who comes onto the table and say, I can provide the collection behavioral or customer behavioral pattern of these countries who holds a passport from this. So that is where the world is moving towards data-centric lifestyle. So they're trying to extract data from different countries and create a, except for not you being blacklisted, even your credit rating is going to get published. Now, first, Europe region is going to start with multi-country credit rating publishing. So opening credit rating to others. But then again, the point of data privacy comes in. There are certain confidential people or high-end people who doesn't want to expose themselves.
Correct. Yes.
So that is where the bank, but today's banks are still using these data for their collection purpose, but not the credit rating purpose. But because of data privacy, these data has not been used. That's why the data you have, you can use only for certain extent. But as the world evolved, because a couple of years ago, open banking was never accepted. Nobody was ready to accept open banking. But now today's world, open banking is getting open out. And it is getting open out for everyone, that everyone can give the consent to transact within your country. Likewise, when it starts opening up in every country, it'll take at least 4 to 5 years to mature into that level. But it is leading towards that. But if you look at now, yes, there is no value unless I'm getting data from Etihad Credit Bureau. But now the bank has started to analyze your customer behavioral. As you correctly said, that's why I said a lot of fintech companies, because bank never do AI or factory. But bank has to tie up with the fintech company, but it will never be successful. Either I'm getting my data and structuring the data and giving it to those AI fintech companies. So they will come with models. They will say, I have 50 models with me, data models. You can apply for your credit evaluation. But then I need to, because there are unique patterns, behavioral pattern unique to my company, my bank. So I need to apply that and see whether it's matched. And then it is not only that.
I have a question. Yeah, I also have a similar question which Rafi Lafid has raised. That the data is incomplete. Yeah, he was telling that I'm a person blacklisted in one country and I'm not. How is the data protection? There was a chat question as well on the GDP, European data protection things. What is the current status of these data protection laws in Dubai? Because we are still getting calls from unknown banks and unknown people who have nothing to do with my personal data, but then they call me. I'm seeing. So where are we with the data protection laws? Once again, I know Chamil asked this question, but all these banks calling us for credit cards and offers and all, they have somehow our data. What is the source of this data for them? And with the new laws in UAE, how they are going to handle that?
Yes. Today, that comes in a different way. That is mainly you're getting calls, not getting the data from a credit card system or a bank leaking the credit card details information to another bank or a certain set of communities or aggregators. It is predominantly you go and you apply for raffles. You buy goods in you have point cards in Lulu, you can have points cards everywhere. You freely give your mobile number. You don't think, you get a point, you want points? Yes, you freely give your mobile number. But do you ever bother to ask what is the consent, or are you going to share this with anybody else? So this is where those data goes to aggregator. Aggregator sells those data. When it comes to a raffle, you have a raffles, you happily write your name, everything and give. So the minute you give those information, that is no law protecting that across the world. And you cannot go and fight against that. You don't know which level it has got leaked. It could be from Lulu, it could be from Damak, it could be from Carrefour. But you're freely given your mobile number and the details. So as a policy, I have 2 numbers. One number I don't give anywhere. One number I give, that is my office number. I don't care, I give it to everybody. So I don't get a single alert on my personal number, which I don't share with anyone. That's only I use to connect with my daughter and the family. So the minute that other number, it's happened, because this is the experiment I have done. But today we have data privacy and data residency policy in every country, especially in Middle East. Data privacy and data residency policies are there. I cannot even host personal finance management engine, which study about your pattern modeling and all. I cannot give the customer name, mobile number. And we have to mask everything and give only the data of the behavioral data and to identify the behavioral models. For them, if you are giving it outside the country. If it's inside the country, then you can use those data in your labs, within your banking premises. But that's also, all has to be masked. So I'll get this question, yes. Collecting customer data against the Europe, yes. General data protection law. But if you go GDP, within the country, you cannot collect the customer information. But I can give through the open banking consent to another bank to extract data from my X bank. So the minute it exceeds opening banking. So the minute you're under opening banking, you give the consent. This is not illegally, we are not curating data, legally curating data. Anton, did I answer your question?
Yes, Dimple, thank you. You answered the question, but I have gone lots of training sessions from my company. We are not allowed even to collect the data of a European Communion customer, not even for internal processing without the permission from the customer. So we said we have a format. We specifically ask customer, can we use this data with the project? Once they say yes, then we do. If not, then we have to drop that customer or drop that plan.
Okay.
But even how come the bank has the authority to, to process or give it to another bank? Give it to any other department internally other than the because we are not aware of what you do inside the bank, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, see, Anton, can I answer this question for you? Because we face the same problems, because from compliance point of view, certain customers in Europe, we have to scrutinize, and sometimes you cannot give their data or you cannot get data. But there is a consumer protection law, just like GDPR, that central bank has already raised. And under this rule, they clearly stipulate that customers' data has to be 100% protected, number one. Number two is that if you have any kind of payments, charges, whatever that the customer will incur due to any kind of downtime or system downtime or whatever it is, the customer has to be informed. The central bank has come up with very clear rules in this. So banks are currently implementing them, and the deadline was 31st January 2022 this year. So just to highlight on this, there is no chance that the bank can give data without asking a customer to another bank, unless, of course, there's a legal binding there, whereby, the prosecution has told, share this information, and there's a fraud case or something under that. Or that has to come in that way. Otherwise, the bank can never give.
Yeah, but when it comes to open banking, that I give the consent to share with my other primary bank. So with the open banking, I can give the consent. Even the direct debit, I have given the consent. That means customer has given the consent, then the data can be curated.
So what you mean to say, initially when we were signing the application, there is a clause somewhere?
No, that is not adequate.
It also goes like this, and there is something called, even in credit cards, there is tokenization. You don't give a credit card like Dimple was just saying, it's masked. And through a token itself, it's just like an ID, which is a number which relates to various other things of me as working in a bank per se. And it will take all the information and it will only give the rating that I have with my bank to the other bank. It will not give information per se that everything that's there held in my bank will be given to another bank. So I am only giving customer consent to the extent that information will be shared with due diligence, not without. So within the banking community itself, this has to be definitely upheld as central bank wants. Because tomorrow, if I say that I have leaked a customer's information to another bank, or somebody has given it without authority, the customer can sue the bank. It can go to that level, although the customer has given the consent. So it always falls to that level in banks today. I know it's a very tricky affair because banks are currently facing this issue that open banking has come up. You need to also give in information. At the same time, you need to protect the information. So it's a two-way thing. So,
and even to add on to your point, even with the open banking, as you correctly said, it's not all the data. I have to give, because it lists out, these are the types of data we are going to release it to X-Bank. One is, if it's your statement, under statement, these are the fields, these are the content which is comes. So I have to accept it. If I accept it only reading through that, then these data get sent to the respective banks. Even the payments. Now, open banking gives the payments. That initially Europe, in UK, they implemented payments only. Even to when I give a request, when I send a request to debit Lafie's account, it comes onto my mobile. I have to accept. It goes to the tokenization or a two-factor authentication. Then after that, it gets process it. It's not only the payments, even the information. Whenever the banks try to take certain information, it goes with the confirmation. Now, it's not that I give a consent to give 940 statement data to that particular bank. So that is how it moves. So whenever the bank wants, and it does not give all the information, only selected set of information. But within the bank also, for data modeling, it's only using for data modeling part of it. So every data cannot give without masking. I cannot give customer name, mobile number, and he has done 20 transaction at Lulu, 50 transaction at that place. It is Dimple De Silva with no. It won't go. It gives the data only. So we categorize the people accordingly for behavioral modeling. But for Amazon or a Alibaba Pay or a Walmart or a Lulu or Carrefour or Union Corp, you have never given any consent not to study you based on your goods that you purchase. So this is where there is an open-ended space in here.
Yeah, thank you, Dimple. Thank you, Rafiq.
It's 20 hours.
Sorry, I expected this to be over by 7:30. So
that's fine, Dimple. It's very interesting, actually. Any other questions we have?
So, Dimple, you have touched upon mostly about fintech and the background processing and all. Is there any experience with what is Tesla is doing with AI and other day-to-day life interactions like these cleaning, mopping devices with AI?
Yes.
And auto driving cars and
yes.
other part of things? Can we have another session? If you are doing if you are reading for PhD, maybe I think I will touch upon all the areas.
Yes, because I would, because of the time factor, I was not touching about, because we were, because how the Amazon tools being used even at the Walmart for cleaning purposes, as well as Tesla process. And not only that, even your curation, as well as for even your social media processing, your interactions, and there are a lot of AI related processes are happening. One is on the operational side, the other one is on the service side. So we can have a couple of sessions to share, but I would like to call one thing, so that every time I find that it's one set of team is doing the sessions, because I know Lafir and Anton also raising question. Why don't you all also take, like, we can have a combined sessions, like everyone come up and do 30 minutes, then the next person do 30 minutes and 1 hour session. So we can also share our thoughts, learn. So I would like you all to come up and make this more like a community, and let's share our ideas, and why not end of the day, we can support others also who is studying and who is pursuing for different job opportunities and so on. Why can't we make it more closer group of interaction?
Okay. When it comes to this particular topic, AI and all, I have spent some 3-4 months in Emirates evaluating different market leaders to come and help us in Emirates, and their ratings, their plus and minuses. I have done some evaluations, and that is my first introduction into how AI is going to impact us. So maybe that will only take 30-minute sessions just to show like this language translations, the text-based ones, or the linguistic translations, what is the best industry tools available, who is providing these services like Google, like what Siri was based on earlier, to understand people languages and human interactions. That will only qualify for, I know the knowledge only to share for 30 minutes, not beyond that.
So I would like, and the Arun, you and Lafir, you can, because at least banking space you can share. If you don't want to share your other areas, but definitely 30 minutes. And why not Anton or Mohammed, or I think everyone is quiet. I want everyone to talk, and because this is our forum, and nobody is going to find
nobody is new here.
Yes, and it is like nobody is going to find, this is actually good opportunity for you to experience your presentation skills as well.
I agree with you, Dimple. Actually, like even we don't need 30 minutes from each and every one of you, maybe 15 minutes. If you have 5-6 members across your different domain areas, let's say banking, IT, or different domains, where they can share their own experience in terms of AI implementation within their organization. So it could be really a knowledge sharing session. So we each can learn and get to know about all these different areas of AI and AI implementation. And yeah, it could be a great session. Maybe we can have a separate, we can post a separate message on our main group, and we can invite for volunteers to come up and talk about, let's say, 10-15 minutes, I would say. If you have 5-6 members, so then it will be a very fruitful discussion, right? What do you think?
Definitely, Chamil. Not even 30 minutes.
Chamil, wonderful idea.
10-15 minutes is more than enough.
Yeah.
And if we have some 4 participants, it covers 1 hour.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, even if one guy presents for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, like Chamil said, you will have questions on that for another 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yes.
So each person given a slot of 10. That will be wonderful. Okay. Good idea, Dimple. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we will start the chat process on that, and let us put, and then we will schedule a date.
Okay.
And it was interesting topic. I like to extend the thank you first for preparing and go into the details, because we learned a lot today. Because we all these while were thinking AI means Tesla identifying the images and road signs and going. but analyzing the people's personal data is a little bit scary, actually, the credit ratings and things. So how it impacts our personal life, actually you brought that into life today, telling us, guys, the AI is threatening our personal data and information as well. How
Dimple
we
has
live
also
our life
cautioned us a
in
little. Right, Armugam, she has cautioned us to be very careful where we go and put our data.
Yeah, I know that. See, this, if I don't pay a Etisalat bill on time, it gives you that warning in SMS saying your credit rating will be affected.
Yes.
The SMS comes from Etisalat saying that if you don't pay by 15th of that month, your credit rating will be affected, and they are putting it in the SMS. A scary message.
Yes.
Yeah, these all are now automated actually, because these algorithms are automated. Now they get all automated SMS without any manual interaction. That's the whole purpose of these one, right? Yeah, nowadays like AI, IoT, and data science are the trending topics. So yeah, we should be much aware of it. And yeah, I mean, world is rapidly evolving, and ultimately the data privacy going for a toss actually. If you, I mean, it could be either both ways. I mean, for the benefit of the human being as well as, I mean, it can use as a weapon also. So we have to be very careful because IoT is everywhere now. So on top of that, we have AI and the data science. So I mean, we cannot hide now anything. Everything will be now, even though we think like everything is on your fingertips, at the same time, world is watching us. So they know our patterns, they know where we are going, they know what we do. And when you open the mobile phone, we will see all the results based on our patterns, spending patterns, as Dimple clearly mentioned. Anyway, really interesting topic.
Etihad Bureau is tracing all our data. This is for the two banking experts here, Lafir and Dimple. Etihad Bureau is monitoring all of our things, and they are using some AIs in the background.
Yes, they are. They have just started. Earlier, they were using more rule-based evaluation, but now they have started curating all the data and identification of your pattern. That's why your rating is dropping now, because the minute you don't pay on time for some reason, mobile bill or anything, your rating drops.
And if we pay next 2-3 months in advance, will it increase?
No, then
Because mine is already dropped.
It automatically, if you pay on time and all, it automatically within 2 months' time, it will have a provision period of 3 months, it will improve. Now, this is the problem with AI, because there is a separate section on the negative side of AI also, because you without proper experimental bed, you just put all those algos on live and go on live, then you don't know from whom the messages will also go.
Yes.
So that
Because
is
my credit rating has come down. I was wondering why. I never missed anything. And then it has come down. Maybe few Etisalat bills.
Yeah, you have to be very careful with that part of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so just want to share some information about. So we thank you, Dimple, for giving us all this information, and it was very useful. One other thing, since we came into the right topic, but I wanted to discuss it just now, is that these AI systems, even though we have algorithms and all this information, you need to maintain them. You can't just put a algorithm online and say, okay, we have done the algorithm and go, it will work for next 10 years. No, it is one of the challenging or challenging factor as of now for AI systems. How do we maintain? Because you need to make sure that your data pipeline is pumping right data into these models and training and testing and putting into the production. So that cycle itself is something that is challenged right now, because sometimes when you put up a model and when it becomes productionized, next week it got changed because there is some rule or some government concept or government, something got changed. And then now you need to retrain and push this thing back to the system again. So this is one of the challenge that a lot of people are facing. So this is one of the areas that even we should focus on, get information out.
Yeah, because I just, yeah.
Shanta, that is for your next session. You are pending.
Yes, that's what I was about to tell Shanta. Because we would like to hear from you the next session on that, because there are two parts to it. There are static rules-based modeling type you need to handle, which is regulatory norms changes. So that is different side of it. But you cannot do just a static algorithm, take it, dump it. No, your data pipe, there are 4 factors in an AI factory: data pipeline, algorithms, then the experimental and research. That's why always a data company, today's AI factory, if your core is digital, you need to have proper data structuring, data analytics team, plus you have to have research and development team who will identify. There is a manual invention also needs to come in, modeling the algos. So that part needs to come in very proactively. So I will open the table for Shanta for your next session, Shanta. That topic for you for your next session.
Shanta, I hope you have fully recovered from COVID.
Yeah. I've already started working as well. So yeah.
So when we joined this meeting,
supposed to do a one
I was
session.
telling the team. I was telling the team that I contacted Shanta and Shanta is recovering from COVID. So next session will be his.
Arjun, actually, Shanta is due another CPD, especially for AI and machine learning, right, Shanta?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
So he will be doing it in March, I think not next month, month after, March.
Yeah, because Arjun keeping us busy these days for our premium economy. So,
yes. Yeah, we will give you one more.
Yeah, so I just wanted to update on that. Even if your rules doesn't change, now the trend of a model which is being on production is getting outdated very fast because your data is getting changed. So that itself tells you that you need to maintain your models properly on production.
Yes. So that is where the investment comes in. This is where I was initially mentioned, Shanta, for today's all the fintech companies comes and sell, okay, we have a data analytics model, I have data, and we do. The two main questions we need to ask: how you are managing your data pipeline, how is your R&D? What is your investment on R&D? R&D is mainly on your algos and all. Who are the R&D team? So it might be a 10 team, because all these fintech companies has maximum 10 or 15. So which you need to understand how many people are focusing on this. Because if not, this is going to be a disaster. That's why you need to have if you're moving a digital core, that means you have to properly digitalize your core structure. You need to have a data structure, data team. You need to have a proper algorithm building team and the platform, as well as experimental platform and the proper architecture. Needs to be in place.
Yes.
So without that, the digital core will not progress. And there is a transformation needs to be done, as well as the leadership side as well.
Yeah, true.
But today, the world is not yet ready for that. That's why I said it's a good opportunities for the IT who are specializing in IT to look at data privacy side, digital data privacy. Today's CEOs are mainly because we are getting more CEO opportunities. So because of the digital core space. So these are the areas that we should look at today's world. I'm just giving job opportunities coming up in the market.
Correct. Yes, sure.
Dimple, my name is Ranjan. I would also like to add few words. First of all, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I work for Emirates NBD Bank. I just joined few months back. I have seen they are investing a lot of money, as well as giving a lot of recognition for this data and AI. They have an AI and data center of excellence team, and they are recruiting data scientists as well. So as you exactly said, it is opening up a lot of job opportunities, as well as everybody who's in the technical field, architecture, even in the senior leadership, looks like they have to touch this area. Because recently I have read the entire area, the paradigm, they are going to restructure into 3 areas. One is data engineers, data scientists, data-driven decision makers. So even the senior leadership looks like they have to be knowledgeable or qualified in AI in order to get the, in order to retain in this field, even in the senior leadership level. So it is, I think you rightly said, everybody has to, go with this. This is the trend going forward, it seems. So thank you very much. It was a very valuable presentation. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and then the other new opportunity, the professional space is coming up. They are bringing up chief data officers as well, like CIOs, CTOs,
Exactly.
and CEOs, and chief data officers. I'm just giving clues because these are opening up in recently in North America. There were a lot of vacancies for chief data officers.
Exactly. And what I have read, even in the future, if you want to retain in the senior leadership, especially in the IT, you have to have this data and AI qualification. They are calling data-driven decision makers. So 3 layers: data-driven decision makers, data scientists, data engineers. So it looks like, as you rightly said, everybody has to even start now in order to go with the space. Otherwise, similarly, as you said, right, the waterfall project management methodology, now it's going down, right? Everybody has to be on agile. So even the engineers, they ask nowadays agile discipline engineers. Not so, even though you are very techie, very tech savvy, it doesn't matter. You have to be on top of agile discipline. So similarly, this is, I mean, this is already there. Maybe this region is little bit behind on that, but looks like we need to ramp up on this. So it's a very useful session, Dimple. Thank you so much for you, and even the Chamil and everyone who arranged this. It's very nice. Also, what I want to add, in the banking sector, they are giving a lot of importance to this. Data scientists, they are already recruiting. So it looks like it's the future.
Yes, I think that's one of the valid points, actually.
Yeah.
It's really moving on. And it's not only that. I want to add one, because actually today we as IT personnel, we always have this mental block. Our salary end with IT or an operations head or a COO or a CTO, CIO, and so on. No, actually now they think that people are coming from the IT nature. IT DNA should be the groomed to be good CEOs, because they work with numbers, they know the technology. Because if you want to convert your code, digitalize your code, then your IT leadership, or your basically CEO, needs to have a IT DNA. So there are other opportunities. We always thought we will never get a chance to get in there. So that is, I'm actually telling for younger generation, for you all to focus on that path as well.
You are ahead of the game, it seems, Dimple.
I'm just telling everyone.
Dimple, you can also tell it to the older generation, because I too want to get back to IT.
All are young. I'm talking about me. I'm old. Can I come with a 25 years of
yeah, heart, I guess.
I feel like getting back into IT now again.
No, because you start with IT, then you're into banking. You can easily get into the CEO and CEO's position. That should be your track, actually. So that's why I'm telling everyone, because today that mindset has been moved out. So we always thought when you're in the banking, you need to be, or if you're in the industry, you need to be in the operation or marketing or sales to get into that CEO level. But today everything is crashing, and people are looking for more experienced people on the digital space or IT space. So we have to be equipped. It's always worth with IT qualification, get an MBA also.
Yeah, actually, the Ranjan said, Dimple, clearly, like we need to, and we as a IT professional need to be updated our qualification on those areas, data science, AI, those areas, especially. And I think that's why we started this MSc program with University of Peradeniya. Kuminda has introduced that. That's a really valuable program. I think around 10 or 15 our members already started this program. Shantar is one of that. So that will give you a good value for the members. Look, when we have to equip with all these knowledge, so that will come up with the masters in data science. So these kind of things, I think from time to time, we need to introduce to different people. So our members, and as we need to keep our members up to date, otherwise we all get outdated. So we need to go with the trends. So yeah, it's a very valid point, Ranjan. Thanks for bringing it. And yeah, we'll try to do that's the whole purpose of doing these kind of CPDs also. Unfortunately, not many of our members are trying to get benefit of this. So we are trying to arrange these kind of discussion, CPDs, panel discussion, so that at least within our community, we can share our knowledge, right? And we can bring up new opportunities. So it's an open forum. I would like to request everyone whoever think like if you can contribute, maybe 10-15 minutes of your experience to share. We need to share. We need to build as a community. I know this is being drastically done by the Indian community. So they were well equipped, and even they can talk. They know all those things, even though they didn't know when it's come to the implementation and technical stuff. But they know all these keywords, so at least they can talk and they know inside out. So they can boost the things, and that is how they are able to capture the IT market, IT industry in UAE. So we need to sharpen our skills, and especially the presentation skill. And guys, this is the open forum. Can everyone volunteer to do a presentation, and that will help you to improve your presentation skill, as well as you can contribute something to your own society, your own community. And actually, I would like to thank Dimple for volunteering this session. It's a wonderful, actually, I didn't ask, actually, she volunteered herself to do this session, and we learned I think every one of you joined, 25 people were there total. So we learn a lot of things, new things, and even myself personally, I learn a lot of new stuff. And it's always better to be, I mean, have a discussions, those kind of things up to date. Thank you so much, Dimple, again, on behalf of Sri Lankan IT Professional Association. I would like to thank all the participants who joined and still waiting till the end. With this, I will end the recording of the sessions on.
Thank you, Dimple.